what do you make of the AFC Championship game and how that's going to play out, best you can tell, Lewis?
Yeah, look, I think for everyone, and it's just about everyone who loves offensive fireworks and star power, I mean, this is the game for you, clearly, because it seems like people are more inclined to lean towards defense being optional. And I'm not saying that these teams won't play good defense, because they will. And they have some good defensive coaches on both of these teams, but I think points will be plentiful. I think, obviously, Kansas City will move the football. They move the football against everyone. They have multiple different ways of moving the football, and I think they will be successful in doing that in this game. Same goes for Cincinnati, especially considering how I think Kansas City's back end, the third level of their defensive secondary has really been inconsistent and has struggled some. And if Tyrann Mathieu at any point in time is not able to, finish this football game for whatever reason, it really seems as though they melt down in the back end. So I think points are going to be at a premium. I think the team that tackles the best in this game is really going to be the one that winds up getting out of this football game, because in that first game, Jamar Chase has 266 yards receiving the first time these teams played. 155 plus or 153 yards of it came after the catch.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just ridiculous. And Tyreek can do the same thing on the flip side. Travis Kelce can do the same thing. McCole Hardman is just a step slower than Tyreek Hill. So whoever can tackle and get these guys on the ground will have the best chance to win. But this may come down to a last possession ball game too, which brings into it a whole nother discussion about overtime. And I saw your thoughts about it, and I think mine have gained a lot of traction this week too, about how we think overtime should be handled. But I think this game could come down to the same type of situation that came down in the divisional round between KC and Buffalo.
Well, I'd like to put a pin in that overtime talk for just a moment. I will remove it later on after we get through these games. I was just looking here while you were talking at the Monday Night Football schedule. You did not have the Bengals. That will obviously change for future years. What makes Joe Burrow so good? What makes him so damn good?
It's poise, confidence, not being someone who gets rattled despite being so young, simply because he's just wired that way. That's in his DNA. He's always been a guy who has looked at challenges as just being temporary roadblocks and not something that can slow him down, whether it be, how he handled his college career, being a transfer from Ohio State and going down to LSU and then winning the national championship, to his rookie year having his knee blown up and then coming back faster than anybody thought he would, never blinking behind an offensive line that can be like Swiss cheese in front of him. He never throws anybody under the bus. He never seems to complain. His facial expression never changes. His body language never changes. And everybody else sees that, Rich, and they go, well, damn, if he's not complaining and he's getting the tar beat out of him back here and he's still throwing darts and throwing lasers out here, well, then we need to step it up and find a way to come through. And that's not just on offense, but that's on defense and special teams too. And that's what makes – look, you talk to enough great athletes, high-performance players. That's what makes those guys great, is that other people feel like they need to raise their level to match theirs and not let them down. And at a young age, that's what he's become for that football team. And, look, his play on the field, as far as his movement in the pocket, decision-making, fluidity with which he delivers the football, accuracy, great situational awareness. He has all that stuff. But it's the intangible stuff, man, that is just transferring and coming along with him at every single step that makes you go, that's what a number one overall pick at quarterback is supposed to look like.
Well, he wasn't. He's
killing it.
And he wasn't on his butt, though, as much in, week 17 as he was last week. And I'm wondering if you think that adjustment that the Bengals might attempt to make, having seen what the Titans did with their line and what the Chiefs think they might be able to make some hay with Jones and Clark, et cetera, and how you think is that the key to this game as well, or it's just going to be a different set of circumstances, different teams rematch just a few weeks later, so on and so forth? What do you think?
Well, I think it's part of it. I think if you just looked at the number of times he was hit and sacked in the Tennessee game, you would assume, if you hadn't watched the game, well, there's no way. There's no way Cincinnati wins that game then. So even if Kansas City's able to get the same kind of pressure, look, they had 4 sacks in their first game against Cincinnati. what the Titans had 9.
Yes.
So even if you put them down that number of times, it still doesn't guarantee that you're going to win the game. But I will say that I think, look, they'll try to protect him better. I think that Kansas City will exert maximum, commit as many guys as they possibly can without exposing their secondary to that wide receiver core as they can to try and rattle Joe. And I think they have a good chance of being even more successful at it because you're playing at home. The crowd noise is going to help you, just like the crowd noise helped Tennessee in Tennessee. And Arrowhead's the loudest place in the NFL. And these guys will be juiced up even more. And they also know that, look, they got to make up for some deficiencies on the back end that are they're just glaring. They just are what they are. So, look, Frank Clark, Chris Jones, Melvin Ingram, those guys, they have to be on it, man. And I think there's just really not a whole lot Cincinnati can do about it right now. There's no scheme that you can really draw up now that's just going to magically cure their issues. That's a personnel issue. It's not a scheme issue.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.